Hi, good afternoon, good day. Thank you for joining the second edition of the Data Engineering Demystifying series. Uh, Today we have Ade Damola Onobanjo. She's somebody that I absolutely admire and love, and she's somebody I call woman leader because she's actually leading a team of data expert at Coda. And today she'll be sharing with us the impact of digital transformation on data-driven decision making. And I'm sure we'll all have a good and amazing time where she'll be sharing her experience with us. So Adedamola Onobanjo has over 4 years experience in both e-commerce and the financial sector. And like I mentioned, we'll definitely have an amazing time learning from her. For those that are joining us for the first time, this is the Data Engineering Community webinar series. And who we are a community of entry level, mid level, and experienced data engineer. Feel free to join us. It's nice to be here. So before I hand off over to Adidamola, just to let you know, you can drop your message in the chat box, and preferably would like to take all question at the end of the session. So Adidamola, I'm handing over to you. This is actually a 2 hours webinar, so yeah, let's have fun. Thank you all for joining. Damola, you can.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I don't want to be like you and be talking while listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Whatever time zone you are, hi, welcome to today's session. I'm actually very honored to be here today. Uh, I'm very honored to be here today. I, yeah, like Musili said, I work at Kuda at the moment. My name is Ade Damola. I work at Kuda as a business intelligence manager. Um, I have been in that role for quite some time now, a couple of years. I didn't start my data journey at Kuda. I started somewhere else. A couple of years back also. But yeah, it's been quite an interesting one. I think that along the way, I have worked in different roles and in a handful of industries. And along the way, of course, I have picked up some things. I consider myself, if not so knowledgeable, at least knowledgeable enough to share like what I have picked up along the way, like lessons that I have picked up along the way with everyone. Yeah. So again, I am glad to be here today with everyone. To speak for 2 hours. That's quite a while. It's not something I do very often, but yeah. I hope this is a very engaging session. So I'm not speaking for the entirety of 2 hours. People can help me so that I don't, you know, um, I don't talk away and talk out. I don't know if that's correct. Talk out myself. Anyway, I am going to be speaking on the impact of digital transformation on data-driven decision making. And this topic is actually quite, I don't want to say dear to me, but it's something that I am passionate about. And that's because like I said, I've worked in a handful of industries and I have like quite a number of years of experience. And so like through these places I've worked in, these industries that I've worked in, I have come to understand how important it is for companies that really want to stand out in today's world, to be on board with digital transformation, right? And it's not because, oh, it positions you as like a leading company, or um, it makes people think that, oh, um, you're very tech centric or tech inclined, or you're very rich because you're able to afford all like the cool technologies. No, I think it's because it positions you as a as a solid competitor, right? In whatever market, whatever industry you are, because the different like technologies that are spurring up these days due to digital transformation, actually help like a lot of companies with their development, staying on top of trends, um, just making sure that like they are able to, with ease, the ease that these technologies bring, they're able to weave these things into like their daily operations and just keep growing and keep developing. So yeah, I would say that's one reason why I am passionate about like digital transformation and people like just imbibing it even in our daily lives. I feel like we should all embrace technology, and not just technology but digital transformation, right? So for example, AI, I see people sometimes, maybe I'll give an instance. Yeah, I think about 2 weeks ago, I was scrolling through my timeline, my Twitter timeline, and someone was trying to make an argument against something, and they posted like a screenshot of a Google search they did, and they highlighted like um the I don't know if you use Google, if you use the Google search engine, Gemini has now been integrated with the Google search engine. So the very first result you see is an AI summary, right? So that person posted that Google search, a screenshot of the search, and like circled the AI summary. And people were, antagonizing this person in the comments, talking about, oh, how can you, you're relying on AI for information, da 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 da. And it just got me thinking how even people that we think are exposed are still um kind of averse to certain technology, right? Even people that are tech inclined are still averse to certain technology. And I know that, I mean, AI is still on the come up, right? Companies are trying to figure it out. Every other day, Gemini has like um, a new update. OpenAI is releasing like a new GPT version that's, I don't know, transforms like your logic very quick or things more advanced than the older GPT versions. So yeah, these things are still on the come up, but I think that it's necessary for everyone to understand that these things are here to like make our lives easier. And yes, maybe they might not be created for like the best of uses sometimes, but these days like there's so much technology involved like woven into even the very small like areas of our lives for people to be averse to things that are here to stay, basically. um AI is here to stay. Sometimes it's not used in the best way, but that's just an instance of something that is basically transforming lives and transforming organizations. So yeah, um, today we'll look at before obviously I go into the main topic. I'll just do like I think I've actually done an introduction of myself, so and I've done like an overview of this topic kind of. So I think we can move on to definition of digital transformation, which is what we'll be looking at first. Understanding what data driven decision making is, because different um, there are two different aspects of the conversation we're having today. There is the digital transformation aspect and there is the data driven decision aspect, right? I want to assume here that everyone on this call is either a data professional or an aspiring data professional. And if you work in the data space, obviously you want to stay relevant, right? So you absolutely support data driven decision making. You don't want your work to be um, obsolete, for lack of a better word. Anyway, we have to understand that bit. We have to understand the intersection between digital transformation and data driven decision making. So if you're looking at the screen, you'll see that I have abbreviated data driven decision making to DDDM, that's triple DM. So if you see it anywhere else in this slide, just know that's what it stands for. Then we'll also like briefly look at some cloud data platforms. how these cloud data platforms transform decision making. Uh, I've also prepared two real world case studies. Then we'll look at some challenges and considerations. We'll also look at future trends in digital transformation and triple DM, and then key takeaways, and I'll open the floor to questions. Uh, Obviously there will be like a Q&A session, like I've just said, after the entire thing. But like if at any point you want to maybe ask a question that is burning on your mind, or you want to contribute something, whatever the case might be, you can just raise your hand and I will let you know to unmute your mic and speak. Yeah, so like I said, I don't want to be talking for the entirety of I don't want to be talking for the entirety of 2 hours. So I hope that everybody can be as engaging as I um as I expect. Yeah. So let us get into it. Okay. Um so first of all, understanding digital landscape, like I've said, in today's world, digital transformation is no longer optional, right? If you want to stay on top of your game as a human being, as a um, as a company, as an organization, as a business owner, as whatever the case might be, you have to embrace digital transformation, even for the people that are versed to technology, right? I had this is a funny story. I had a professor in university who absolutely hated technology, right? This was in like 2015, I think. Yeah, 2015. Um, while working on like my final project, and this man, as at 2015, we already had smartphones then, and this man had um, I don't like a non-smartphone, right? For the Nigerians on this call, what you call palasa phone, that's what this man had. In 2015, a professor in law, right? So he had this phone, and he always like spoke about how he's not tech inclined, da 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 da. Then companies like Jumia were on the come up, and he'd be like, "Oh, my daughter said she wants to buy me something on this platform, but I don't use it. I don't understand it. I'm not using it, right?" So he always said things like that. And then um, one time I was consulting with him, and he had a laptop. Of course, he had a laptop, so that's just one red flag already. And then he said, "Oh, during the day, one of his project supervisors, right, one of people's whose projects he was supervising, he found out that the person was plagiarizing. The person was guilty of plagiarism." And I wondered how he found this out. And he's like, "Oh, that um, there is a website where they paste like the soft copy of people's work to check for plagiarism." And I was like, "Wow, you use such a tool?" And he's like, "Yeah, is there any problem?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, there's no problem. That's fine." But like for someone that is averse um to technology, right, had that kind of phone at that point in time, imagine that he was using a plagiarism check to verify the coursework of people, verify his students' coursework, basically. So I don't know. Except you're living in a cave, um, there is just no way you can avoid digital transformation, right? You go to church, or you go to your place of worship, you go to your mosque. Maybe you have to sign in, you have to thumbprint or something to open the door. You need like an access card, or you go to the hospital, and yeah, I know this is scary if your doctor is asking AI to diagnose a patient, but like technologies are advancing like that in the medical space, at work, in different areas of our lives. Basically, digital transformation is everywhere, and if you want to grow, if you want to, I don't want to be too stringent and say survive, because obviously your survival is not hinged on digital transformation. But yeah, if you want to grow, if you want to develop as a human being, you need to embrace these things, right? Like I said, it has evolved the way we work, and things like data, right, are now at the heart of every decision we make, from coming up with business strategy to daily operations, right? Um, in your house, for example, you you buy like cleaning supplies every month, right? And you notice that, oh, in the past 3 months, my cleaning supplies haven't lasted up until the middle of the month. So the next month, what do? You plan to either um, double the number of supplies that you buy, or maybe you buy bigger sizes, right? That's data influencing your decision making. So these things have tipped into like the very fabric of our being as human beings. So yeah, like understanding that these things are very important is great, because it helps us to decide how to move forward with these technologies. And yeah, in this session, I'll help you understand like why embracing digital transformation is key to unlocking competitive advantage and better decision making, professionally, of course. And if you decide to, take it into take the tips you learned today into your personal life, that will also be great. Okay, so what is digital transformation? I think I've kind of touched on this already, but I'm just going to actually break it down. We'll look at the definition, we'll look at impact, we'll look at examples and necessity, right? Necessity is the reason we're here, understanding the necessity of these things, especially with regards to triple DM. But yeah, so simply put, digital transformation is the integrity of digital technology into all aspects of business, right? I believe that for the database administrators here, um, I believe that we all know the differences between on-prem servers and cloud databases, right? Um, while these data servers um, are still technology inventions, moving from on-prem servers to cloud data warehousing is an advancement um, in technology, and it leans towards, or it is digital transformation actually. So it's important for us to know that digital transformation leads to changes in operations, in customer experience, and value delivery across organizations. Now, imagine the same example using the same on-prem servers versus cloud data servers, right? Today, I can't give an excuse that, oh, my data servers are down. In fact, my entire app is down because the company or the building where my servers are located has gotten burnt. If I am using a tool like Google Cloud Platform or AWS, for example, right? Because your data is stored in the cloud, um, it's faster, it's more easily accessible than this old version in quotes, right? So understanding that there are advantages to digital transformation inventions is very important in knowing like how to decide to go forward with imbibing or integrating it into your business, into your work, into your personal life. I've already given some examples, but further examples of digital transformation, automation, um, cloud computing, IoT, which is Internet of Things, and AI, which I've already mentioned. All of these things enable enhanced efficiencies and insights, right? They reduce time, they reduce energy, they reduce resources, right? I know as okay, I don't know if there are any employers of labor on this call, but like as employees, we probably are, you know, shaking whenever people say, "Oh, AI is coming to take your job" and things like that, right? And that has become a thing because of the power of these tools, right? Because of how independence of um or how independent they can stand. Let me not say independent of human inputs, because at the end of the day, um, text AI, for instance, requires your input for it to give you feedback. So there's that. But yeah, these things actually pick things up. Um, they ensure that you don't put in as much energy into doing things, right? My slides, for example, my slides today, um, 3 years ago, I would probably have spent maybe 2 to 3 days, considering that I have a 9 to 5 job, creating the slides, right? But thanks to I do not have to spend 2 to 3 days designing my slides, but AI took care of that for me. So just the little things, we can already see improvements, we can already see enhancements. Now think on a bigger scale what people are able to achieve when they integrate, when they imbibe this digital transformation technologies into businesses, right? For the necessity bits, as stated earlier, at this point, it is not an option, it is a necessity, right? Except you live in a cave. If you are out in the world with the rest of us, then I mean, it is a necessity, right? If you want to stay on top of your game, you have to move with the times, basically. Now let's move to, I don't know, before we move on to understanding triple DM, does anyone have any questions or any contributions? Oh, no questions. Okay. This
Yeah.
must be a familiar subject for everyone. Or maybe I'm just a really great teacher. Uh, okay. So moving on to understanding triple DM, which is data-driven decision making, in case you're just joining. Um, Data-driven decision making involves leveraging data analytics to drive decisions, right? It represents a shift from intuition-based choices to evidence-based decisions. Uh, Even unconsciously, as human beings, right? We work with data these days to make informed decisions, right? The example I gave about cleaning supplies, that is a very basic thing that the average person might not consider to be a data driven decision. But to me, it is a data driven decision because you've examined your past 3 months, your inventory or your stock, your cleaning supply stock for the past 3 months, and you said, okay, in month one, my supplies finished before mid-month. In month two, finished before mid-month. In month three, finished before mid-month. To make sure that I don't run into the same problems this month, I am going to, one, buy double the amount of each supply, or I buy bigger sizes, right? So that is a data you are basically leaning history, on your history with your supplies, on a time frame, right, to make an informed decision in your current state. So instead of just saying, mm, okay, uh, I'm just going to keep going like that, right? Another thing that would represent um, an evidence-based decision is if you now go back to your cleaning supplies, right? Maybe you're not the only person that lives in your house. You start interviewing the people that live in your house and you ask each of them, are you misusing supplies? Maybe somebody misuses the supplies, that's why they get finished on time. Or um, are you just not buying enough, right? Basically, because you can decide to buy double the um double the stock you buy for each item, and then you come to find out that this thing is still finishing mid-month. That is an intuition based decision. compared to you actually going to seek out like hard facts, right? Which is an evidence-based move. So moving on to like the more corporate bits, companies like mine, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I work at Kuda. Kuda is a neobank based in Lagos, Nigeria. Companies like mine, because we are a neobank, that is in the fintech industry, and every day we process millions of transactions, right? Now imagine we're just collecting all this data and um, we're not doing anything with it. We just keep it maybe for customer claims or for regulatory reporting, for instance. We don't use the data to influence the rollout of our products, or we don't use the data to track our revenue, for instance, right? We don't use the data to show our investors how we're performing as a business. Um, that will position us way behind of competitors who are using the data to know what products to release next, to know the kind of customers to offer loan products to. Um, Basically just using like the data to make informed decisions. So companies like mine, fortunately, use data-driven strategies. Companies like mine, sorry, that use data-driven strategies are more likely to outperform their competitors, right? So people that are just treating the data um as a I don't know, as a storage, whatever the case might be, they're just storing it for God knows what, are likely not to stay ahead of the curve. So moving on from that, we'll look at the benefits of triple DM, right? And I've listed the three most important ones here. The first being enhanced accuracy in decision-making processes, right? Um, Enhanced accuracy in terms of correctness, right? Correctness, or let me just put it this way, data integrity, uh, making sure that you have the right data to help you make the right decisions, not that you have, not that you're using wrong data or you're not even using data at all. So what do you use to make your decisions, right? So that's one of the benefits of triple DM. Another one is increased speed of response to market changes, allowing for agile adaptations. So, for instance, you have, I'll use my company again as an example. Um, in, was it 2023? 2023, January, February was when we had the cash crunch issue in Nigeria. Now imagine that we had just left our databases like that. We had not looked to see how a thing like that, an issue like that, will affect an institution like ours. Then I don't think we would have gotten anything out of that, for lack of a better description, right? So things like that helped us to understand what our customers were tending towards at that point in time, and how we could help cushion the effects of the cash crunch. So that is just an example of increased speed of response to market changes. Then there is also the benefit of greater agility in operations, enabling organizations to pivot quickly based on data insights. I can't emphasize how important data-driven decisions helps to increase agility in operations, right? For companies like mine, our entire operation sits on the data that we have and what we are doing with this data. And there are a lot of companies in the tech industry. In fact, you can't be in the tech industry and not leverage the data you have, except you don't want to stay ahead of the curve, like I mentioned. Then you're probably just wasting your time. Okay, Now we move to the intersection of digital transformation and triple DM. So before I start talking on this bit again, does any, actually, let me even ask a question. Can anyone here quickly just share how triple DM has influenced their organization, their company, or even just your work or your home life? Any takers?
Does anybody want to share?
Okay, someone has their hand raised. Mohammed Jimo. Mohammed, please go ahead and mute your mic.
Oh, hi, good afternoon, Adidamala.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, yes, so Triple DM actually helped me in my organization. So because we had this internal dashboard of it, and so we always use it to keep track of um prices of items basically. So prior before then, we basically just do it using an Excel sheet or something like that. Until we decided to start using database and we decided to set up a proper dashboard system, so we could actually keep track of how prices varies and how we can build more robust models internally. Yeah.
Mm. That's a great example. Thank you. And any other takers? I'll move on. I mean, there's a handful of us here. Surely someone has something to say. Okay, Obafemi James. I hope that's the Obafemi James I know.
Hi, Adedamola. Good evening. So, for me, I'll use a personal example of this. So, as a married man, um, I kind of use data to plan like household expenses. So, recording how much I spent monthly on whatever I need to buy in the house. I use that to forecast like how much I'm going to take out from my salary, like for February, for example, to
Mm-hmm.
know how much I can save, how much I need to pay for the bills to stock the house. So I think this is like a simple yet important use of DDDM.
Yeah, thank you, James. Tosin, you can go ahead and speak.
Yeah, good evening, Adedamola. Thank you
Good
very much
evening.
for the so far. I would like to make a contribution as an added benefit of um, triple DM. One other thing that, other benefits we can look at is the fact that it helps in positioning you as an industry leader and an innovator because
Mm-hmm.
with data, you can actually see trends amongst your users that would inform you on the next strategy or the next product to release that would probably come as a shocker to every other person in the industry that is not data driven. So in that
Mm-hmm.
sense, it will position you as an innovator, and a lot of top companies are actually innovators specifically because of the data they have at their disposal. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's one benefit we can look at.
Yeah. Thank you, Tosin. Um, I'll say, for example, to Tosin's contribution, a lot of companies being like industry leaders. One popular company that we probably all know is Tesla, right? The Tesla could have come and just created another petrol driven vehicle, but they decided to stand out and create like self-driven cars, and that has completely changed the game, right, for them. It has positioned them into Sin's words as industry leaders. So thank you for your example. Thank you for yours to James and Mohammed. The example of using budgets to or budgeting your spend, right? Um, to just help you decide, okay, where should this amount of money go? Do I have enough to save this month? I mean, that's how I live my life also. I can't do without, actually, what's today? Today is 20, today is 22nd. Today is 22nd. So I should actually be working on my budget sheets already. I'll do that after this call. But yeah, I think it's quite clear to everyone now why like these things are important. So moving on now to the intersection of digital transformation and triple DM, right? The first thing that jumps out to everyone is that it enables real-time insights, right? And I'll break this down for us. So digital tools capture, process, and analyze data in real time, creating a seamless flow from data collection to actionable insights. Um, I think Mohammed gave an example of how they were storing data at some points, and you know they hadn't really used it to do anything until they then created a dashboard out of it. And I'm sure that dashboard helps you people like predict or probably take a look at like past um past trends, right? That somehow will influence your decisions going forward. Um, so the digital tool in that case is whatever it is that you use to transform this data into something else to make sense of, not just to yourselves, but also to other people in the business. Um, there are different levels, obviously, to moving data between pipelines, moving it from the source to a state where a presentable state, basically. And there are different levels or different kinds of digital tools that can help like enhance that process, right? So you have, depending on your pocket, depending on your preference, depending on the need, right? You have the tools that will capture and process and analyze data for you. I'll say in some cases, not near real time, in some cases, near real time, and in some other cases, in real time, right? Um, so now imagine that uh, try to take a try to take stock of maybe a time that you either called a telco, yeah, maybe your telco, for instance, right? 2 minutes ago, you tried to maybe buy airtime and it didn't go through. And then you're calling your telco and they pick the call in within the 2 minutes that you have bought like the airtime that didn't, the unsuccessful airtime that you have performed that transaction. And you're like, oh, this and that has happened to me. And the person on the other line is saying, oh, okay, can I have your phone number so I can check this? Right. So they type your phone number in and they say, oh, I see that you made this transaction, or I don't see, whatever the case might be. Now, in cases where they say they see that you made the transaction, imagine that within 2 minutes, your data has gotten from, let's just say, your mobile device, for instance, and it has gotten to the whatever system the call center agency is using to, you know, process information and investigate customer claims. So you can now see that if that telco that you called that is able to see that you perform your transaction versus another telco that you call and they tell you, oh, you have to wait 1 day before we can see your transaction. Now, as a customer, your friend has told you, oh, my own telco, you have to wait 1 day. And maybe you separate from these people, maybe you're just coming back to the country and you're on the hunt for a new telco. And you have one person singing in your ears that I called my telco within 2 minutes of performing this transaction and they helped me. And the other person is singing in your ear, oh, I have to wait 1 day. Obviously, you're going to choose the one that seems to have better customer service, which is due to them having systems that can process data in near real time for them. That's just I think that's a relatable example that we can all understand, and it helps us to see the importance of digital transformation um, in triple DM basically. So now there's also this synergy of automation and analytics, right? And this allows for organizations to quickly respond to changing market conditions and operational needs. Um, you have all this data. For instance, I'm trying to think of an example that I can share with everyone that we can probably all relate to again. Um, okay, you're running a business, right? You're running a financial business. And it is, I don't watch football often, so I don't know like when Premier League or Champions League, I don't know the difference between both of them, but I know they are both football leagues, right? And it's the season like where one of those leagues is active. Um, and as a financial company, you are not offering any products or any feature at all that's any betting products or feature at all. When you know that when these leagues are active, people tend to buy more, I don't know, betting coins, wallets, I don't know what these things are called. But anyway, people tend to perform more betting related transactions, right? Um, you will not be as successful as your competitor who already knows that this thing is coming, and they have based on the data that exists in their system, maybe from the last time the Champions League happened, they have like analyzed everything, and they're like, okay, this is the kind of products we're going to offer, or this is the kind of feature we're going to offer at this point, right? So just having like a holistic view of how these things come together, um, and how important it is when they come together can help you actually advance your business, advance yourself in today's world. Now the other thing is this shift from static reporting to dynamic insights, right? Mohammed talked about how data was just sitting, nothing happened, and then they transformed to dashboards, and they were able to make sense or like take advantage of the data that they had. Now imagine if um they just created that dashboard and left it like that, and then maybe data kept flowing into the system that they took the data from, and they just did not move that data to this dashboard that they created. They are not going to be, or they wouldn't have been working with like the most up-to-date information. But digital transformation provides features, right, that can help you actually leverage leverage on uh, real-time and updated data, right, to provide you with dynamic insights. So you're not just using static reporting, but you're using something that is, refreshed as often as possible, or whatever refresh rate you decide anyway, to basically get dynamic insights. And this basically empowers businesses, like I said, to make informed decisions based on up-to-date information. Now, you can't be, let me see, let me think of another example. Let's see, what is something that is outdated now? Maybe a show that we all watch or something um that we don't do anymore. Uh, Imagine that you're working with data from 2 3 years ago, for instance. Okay, let's use leadership in this country as an example. You're working on um financial data from 2 3 years ago. Apart from how stale that is, maybe you want to use it to make a decision on, or you want to use it to judge the political, like the influence of the political climate on your customer base, and you're working with data from 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. we had a previous administration then. Now we are in a new era. Not even new. This is more than a new era at this point. We're in another era, right? Um, and you kind of want to make decisions in this era based on a different administration. You're going to make the worst decisions. In fact, working in fintech, I will tell you that we appreciate daily information, right? If one day is even missing, if one day's worth of transactions is missing, then I will not advise anybody to go ahead to make a decision based on one day of transactions that might be missing, because she might be missing something very, very important, um, that will basically influence your decision. So yeah, I hope we have like a better understanding now of how digital transformation um influences, right, influences data driven decision making. So now we look at cloud data platforms, right, which in our case um are the bedrock of weaving digital transformation and data driven decision making, right? So the first thing we'll look at is an overview of major platforms. Um, we have platforms like, I have BigQuery here, but BigQuery is a Google Cloud platform. It's a Google Cloud platform product. We have Snowflake, we have Redshift, and each of these products basically offer unique features for data management and analytics. Um, they come at different costs. They have their unique value propositions, right? But at the end of the day, they are all, cloud data platforms that um, offer people or offer organizations unique features for data management and analytics. Does anyone have any, I don't know, cloud data platform they want to add to this list? Probably something you're a fan of that you've used in the past. Any takers? No. It appears everyone here wants me to talk for the entire 2 hours. It's unfair. Silly, do you want to contribute?
No, apart from that, I'm a fan of Azure and AWS. I guess that's those are major platforms that I would like to add to the list. So we have
Okay.
Tosin.
Yeah,
Okay,
you've
Tosin.
actually mentioned one that I had in mind, which is Azure Data Factory, to be precise. It's actually one of that good tool that good data platform for analysis and data management.
Okay. Thank you, Tosin. So like I said, all these different platforms, they have their unique value propositions, they costs, they have different costs, they have different packages, different subscription packages, they have different customer service types. Um, they basically have different things, right? So I know that Azure doesn't really have, or let's use Amazon for instance, like the entire Amazon suite doesn't really have any data visualization offering compared to other platforms like Microsoft that has Power BI, um, Google that has Looker and Looker Studio, right? Also, Snowflake doesn't have any, primary like data visualization tool. But you see tools like Microsoft and Google, especially, I think these are like the biggest players that have a full suite of tools that you need. So from data storage to data pipeline management to data administration to um, data analysis to data visualization to even data science, right? So this difference, like this, both platforms have tools like a variety of tools, right, under their belt that they offer to customers. So if you subscribe to any of these ones, then you don't have to bother going to, okay, I don't have a tool in my suite uh that I can use as a Python notebook, or I don't have an SQL engine, or like I said, I don't have a data visualization tool. So I have to go out and pay for another one. Of course, the cost is more when you subscribe to more like features or more products in like these different platforms. But at the end of the day, um, they offer like a full scale of tools that you need for data management and analytics, right? And they provide unparalleled scalability, performance, and real-time processing for crucial things that are crucial for modern analytics, right? Um, scalability is actually very important. Although I would say that for organizations that are just maybe they don't have um any goal to grow like their customer base into something very, very large, then scalability might not be their cup of tea. But I think that for companies that are looking to grow, that are looking to grow their customer base, are looking to, I don't know, stand out and be the best, basically. Scalability is important. Real-time processing is important. But also this is something else that is dependent um on your value proposition as a business. So in telco, in telecommunications, in finance, in e-commerce, you really can't scrimp on tools that will not offer you, at the very least, near real time real time features, right? You can't, as a bank, for instance, you can't say, oh, we don't have enough money, so we are going to pay for a tool that cannot even offer you near real time data processing features. I mean, not to sound violent, but your customers might beat you up if you can't tell them where their money is or what happened to their money in the past one. Even in the past one, I go to a bank and I complain, and they say, "Oh, madam, we can't see your data. We don't know what happens to your money." Something bad is going to happen, and something bad is not going to happen to me, right? So, like I said, they are just different based on your value proposition, based on your goals, based on your pockets also. There are different services that these platforms offer, and all of these things have like their major advantages. Um, Another thing with cloud data platforms is the existence of self-service analytics, right? So these platforms actually democratize data access, right? Um, for those that might not really understand what that means, it refers to ensuring that people have the right accesses to things, right? Especially because we are dealing with data. Data democracy is very, very important because, again, we are dealing with data. This is private information. So you need to know how to manage it across levels. Then also allowing users across the organization to utilize insights without heavy IT dependency. This line might be a bit scary to some of us because, I mean, if your customers or if your stakeholders are not heavily dependent on you. You are probably scared of being made redundant, but at the end of the day, I mean, advancement has to happen, and for this advancement to happen, um, I don't think any important role or any important data function is going to become obsolete, right? So yeah, self-service analytics is self-service analytics at this point is actually quite important. Again, depending on, you know, the kind of business that you manage. So um a very, very large e-commerce company, for instance, a very, very big one, the likes of Amazon. You can't imagine that um, the data team, say the data analysis team or business intelligence team at Amazon is giving, say, a warehousing manager a report um, on warehouse stock. Let's use that as an example. You can't imagine that at this time, February 2025, that there's someone that is sitting and waiting for a warehouse manager to come and say, I need data on our warehouse stock. That is at this point, if you hear that a company like Amazon is still doing things like that, I think you should be afraid for them, because self-service analytics is now a thing, right? So a lot of this process would have been automated already, such that the business intelligence things can focus on the bigger picture than focusing on, things that um, would take their time and take efforts, right? I'll give an example of when the current company I work in, our data team is still in its, I wouldn't really say exactly growth. Well, we're in our growth phase now, but like a couple of years ago, it was a new team, right? And because we were still trying to like get things in order, automation the wasn't our primary driver, right? It was providing for our stakeholders, basically ensuring that they have everything that we want. Now imagine that 2 years later, we are still trying to get, or we're still trying to provide data the way that we used to provide 2 years ago, when we had not leaned heavily on automation then. A lot of time has gone into making sure that like people can serve themselves, right? And not wasting time on things that can be done by users, basically, or can be done by stakeholders. Without digital technology, we won't be able to um, empower our users in that way. We have tools, under our belts. We have tools like Looker, we have tools like Looker Studio, where a non-technical user even can, pull up something called, I don't know if you use Looker, there's something called an Explore. They can pull up an Explore and create a dashboard by themselves. The other day, I was showing someone in my team a dashboard that a business user created. And I'm like, see what users can create by themselves these days. Like a fancy looking dashboard. This is somebody that is a business user and not a technical person. So with the advancement of these things and with the integration of digital technology, people are able to do things by themselves and give you time to work on the bigger picture, to make sure that, okay, yes, they even have the tools that they can work with in the first place. So we move on to how cloud data platforms transform decision making. I feel like we've touched on this a bit, but just to give us hard set examples. So I've talked about how the likes of the likes of Microsoft and Google, have this entire suite of different products that people can use, from products that manage data storage to those that help with data transformation to those that help with um, advanced analytics and things like that, right? They have this entire suite. So these platforms work seamlessly with modern BI tools such as Looker, Power BI, and Tableau. Even for those that might not have the full suit, right? You can still connect. You see that they are, what's it called now? They are products, like they are integrated products, right? Where companies come together, like digital technology companies come together to create a unified product that users can, leverage on. Looker, for instance, one of the connectors in Looker is a Google product, but one of the connectors in Looker is AWS, right? And this is probably because they realize that not everybody uses like Google, the full Google data source, right? So they're giving their um, customers, right, that use AWS the opportunity to visualize data using Looker. So, and this is just an example of Looker. Imagine that there are other tools. Tableau, you can imagine now if Tableau decided today that they want only their spreadsheet products to work with Tableau. Where does that leave a lot of us that use Microsoft Excel, for example? We won't be able to use Tableau. You probably have to use some other products that will allow you to import your Excel sheets into the platforms. So this cloud data platforms actually work seamlessly with modern BI tools, right? And this integration allows for real-time data accessibility across the organizations. I have spoken about the importance of real-time data accessibility. I don't know how else to emphasize that it is a game changer these days. Like, it is something that you can possess as a business owner that would keep you miles ahead of a business that doesn't have um, a data management system with real-time accessibility features, right? Then I've also made the point of people being able to visualize and analyze data without relying heavily on IT support. So as a business owner, that can mean you don't have to hire as much BI or data analysts. I'm sorry to everyone that is here. Um, that feels like their job might be threatened. But for employers, for any employer that is here, I don't know, that might be a good thing for you. And then for us employees, right, it gives us, the time, like I said, to work on more important things, like more challenging things. When you know that, okay, my user can analyze the performance of their products per region by themselves because I've empowered them with like the tool to do that, then I can now sit back and decide to do advanced analytics, right? So forecasting revenue, for example, I can decide to do that because I don't have 20 things, 20 little things that I have to do. Um, okay. So does anyone have anything to add? Any more examples to give? Anything at all? I'm grateful for people like Tosin, Mohammed, and James that have spoken up today. Or anyone else that just wants to say something or even ask a question at this point.
Anyone?
Celia, I think our audience today are quite shy.
I want to believe that.
Okay. So let's move to um more benefits of cloud platforms. So the first thing we have here is reduced data latency, which ensures timely access to critical information. I think we've already kind of covered that. Then greater accessibility that empowers all users to leverage data in their decision-making process, right? So because there's such a thing as data democracy, people can, access, even if it is the most minute or most aggregated data, um, they can access these things just so that they are able to make sense of make sense or even understand like the businesses that they work for. My company has every month, we do like this presentations on the performance of the business, right? And there is a lot of data that is involved in this thing, right? Fancy dashboards and all of those things. And this is something that is open to the entire business. So everyone can see how the business is doing. Everyone can ask questions. Um, Nothing is hidden, right? And people can take that data and say, okay, um, maybe this is just an example, not related to my company, but if a customer service department, for instance, sees their um, next performance score, maybe that's something that is, presented every month. Someone that has just joined the team can see that score and say, okay, if the score is too low, then they can say, okay, I want to work harder so that this score is not as low as it was this month, because this data is open to everybody, right? With data democracy at the back of the data management or data managers mind, of course. So another benefit we have here is cost efficiency. This is achieved through streamlined operations and reduced infrastructure expenses. So I think I have spoken about how using Google Cloud Platform, for instance, um, if you have to manage everything in your Google Cloud Platform, you don't have to go out and buy another or pay for another tool. Then you keep everything in one compact environment. I think if you're able, for instance, and this is just an example, if say Google Suite has 20 products, right? 20 data related products, and you are using 15. If you go to them and you say, oh, I want these two other ones, you are able to negotiate because you're a good customer, and they give you things for lesser prices because you're already a good customer that is using a lot of things in their system. And to be honest, there is more harmony, right? When there are issues, it is easier to troubleshoot, it is easier to manage clients' relationship, negotiation opportunities, like I've said already, um, when you're using like a single cloud platform. This is not me advocating for single cloud platform. I'm just trying to, make a point of how you can get like reduced infrastructure expenses when you're utilizing these cloud platforms. Storing your data in the cloud costs money, but compared to the cost of building your on-prem servers and employing people to manage those servers, and you know maybe paying rent for the building that you're in, paying other infrastructure costs, um, paying internet costs, like that is just a whole lot of money that um, some people, might not be worth it to some organizations. So just making note of things like this and how they influence your business can help you decide how to proceed with um, integrating cloud platforms into your business. Wow. Okay. So we move on to case studies. The first one, I will start from the scenario here. The scenario here is company X. This is a real world case study, but for privacy purposes, I am using variables for names, basically. So company X faced challenges with siloed data across various departments, leading to delayed reporting and inefficient decision making. So now imagine that you work in a company where each department has their own data source. They have how they transform this data. They have where the data comes from, basically, and they all work in the same company. There is going to be like a lot of clashing, right? Um, so moving to the challenge, which I've kind of now said, the major challenge was the lack of integrated data, which hindered timely insights and created operational bottlenecks. Now imagine that you're sitting in a room and the finance manager is presenting data from his own finance data source, and somehow it differs from what the marketing manager is saying, and the operations manager is saying something else. And now imagine like these are three hot-headed people, won't be able to make any decisions. They will just be clashing and shouting and wasting time and just doing things that are not relevant to the growth of the business. So that's me painting the picture for you. Now, by adopting cloud platforms and automation, Company X streamlined data processing, enabling real-time access to information. Now there is after realizing that having siloed data was not helping anybody, they decided to streamline the data sources that they have, probably did a lot of transformation and cleaning and manage just basic management, right? They were able to streamline the processing and enable everybody real-time access to information. Now, finance manager doesn't have to bring his own data from his own data source. He can just access the centralized system, analyze what he needs and bring it to the meeting that he's having with the other managers. And there is no clash because they are now all accessing the same system that is transformed, that is cleaned the same way. So yeah, the outcome of this transformation is resulted in faster insights and improved decision making with measurable cost savings across the organization. Now also imagine that they are different silo data sources. They had to pay for um like the storage of the data, right? They had to pay for the storage of data. The finance team, they had their own finance analyst. Um, the marketing team also had its own marketing analyst. Now, specialization, of course, is important, but in some cases, it's not necessary. And now there is a unified system, and there is one analyst that pulls data for everything, right? You can see that it has reduced costs. It has increased the time it has reduced the time taken to analyze the data because this person is not doing this, is not doing that, and they all come together and clash and they are wasting time, right? Then, yeah. So the key metrics from this real world case study is decision latency was reduced by 40%, which is actually quite high. Um, and revenue increased by 15%. I mean, revenue increase is what makes everybody happy. But at the end of the day, I think this decision latency reducing is actually like a very big thing too, because it just tells a just paints a picture of like a more structured future for this particular company going forward, right? And of course, the revenue increments is also a really great thing, 15%, right, as a result of this digital transformation. So we'll move on to the next one. But before we move on to this one, does anyone have any questions with regards like the first case study?
Looking through the chat, I don't think there's any.
Okay.
Anybody, any question before we move on? Okay.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next case study. In 2021, company Y faced significant issues with poor data quality and integration across various systems, hindering their ability to make informed decisions. Um, I think as data professionals, the one thing we probably all hate, like as one body, is poor data quality, right? Because not only does it um, not only does it result in poor work or more work, um, where unnecessary, of course, but it also challenges your credibility as an analyst, right? Because if the data, if the results that you're churning out to your stakeholders is wrong, your credibility is threatened, right? The authenticity of your work is constantly put into question. So now imagine that this company, for a whole year, they faced issues with poor data quality and integration across their various systems. There was just no harmony. There was dirty data. Um, there were problems, basically, foundational problems. Let's put it like that. And then in 2022, company-wide decided to adopt a centralized cloud data platform, which allowed them to consolidate their data and implement automated data pipelines, right? So these pipelines not only help them to unify their systems, um, but also automated it in the sense that this is one unique example I'm giving, in the sense that the platform enabled quality assurance checks on the data system. So there were different tests, right? It's offered, or it has a feature. It has a feature for testing the data that comes into the environment and the data that goes out of the environment. And so now imagine that a company that faced issues with dirty or poor data quality before, they now have a system that actually does check, okay, is the data that is coming in clean, is the data that is going out clean, without even having to hire anybody to do like this manual checks for them. So the platform they opted for actually did these checks for them. Now, in 2023, there was implementation of automation, right? So automation of data processing was implemented, ensuring real-time availability and improving overall data accuracy. So they've cleaned up their data, they've unified their systems, they've automated everything. Now they can enjoy the real-time availability privilege, right? Their data is clean, they have something that is testing for them. These processes are automated. Somebody doesn't have to run around. As a data engineer, you are running around day in, day out, trying to fix broken pipelines, or you can't sleep well because you know that, if I wake up now, one of my pipelines is broken. And you know that you have to spend a full day working to repair this thing. When you have platforms like this that, have made troubleshooting an easy process, or can even fix itself in some cases, right? So company Y had all of this. Now imagine whoever the chief data officer or whoever it is that managed the data system, probably by 2023 had fewer strands of gray hair because they didn't have to be doing as much work as they were in the past. So by 2023, of course, they've implemented all of these things. As a result of these things that they implemented, they achieved enhanced data quality, real-time insights, and improved strategic decision-making capabilities. So the data engineer doesn't, or the BI analyst, for example, doesn't have to worry about bad dashboards or broken dashboards. Of course, it's still a worry for everybody, but it's not so much as a constant anymore in this company. Um, and you are the BI analyst in this case is confident enough to present their findings, their insights to the rest of the business, to be able to make sense of the data that they have. So that is it for case study 2. Any other questions? Or any questions from both case studies? I see a thumbs up, so guess we can go forward. So I mean, now I've talked about all the beautiful features and all the beautiful benefits of digital transformation, integrating it with triple DM. For everything, for every innovation, for every creation, for everything that has a good side, there are bad sides too. But in this case, of course, I will say that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. But as a user or propagator of these things, you have to be aware and be on the lookout for these challenges and considerations before delve into integrating or weaving in digital transformation your DDM um, into your DDM structure. So the very first challenge we will look at is data quality and integration. I think there's a question. Okay. The very first one we'll look at is data quality and integration. Organizations must ensure unified and accurate data to enable effective decision making. Poor data quality can lead to misguided insights. So I will give an example of enabling self-service analytics in your company, right? You've now given your users the ability to create their own dashboards um, using views or tables or models, whatever the case may be that you've created for them. Um, you need to make sure that before enabling a service like self-service analytics, you have to have clean data, right? I once sat in a demo with a company um, that offers or that utilizes natural language processing, right, in BI. So basically, in layman terms, or in more understandable terms, what that means is that your business users can go on the platform, on the products that they offered, and say, what is the revenue for yesterday? Instead of coming to ask you, what is the revenue for yesterday? Or instead of actually maybe whatever self-service tool you created for them, using that to create a table or create a chart just to see what the revenue for yesterday is. You can just type that question and the system brings back a result. In other cases, the system even creates like a report for them answering the question that they've asked. Imagine that in that demo I sat in, the sales executive, the first question he asked when the person that I was working with then had um, affirmed their need for the tool was, do you have a proper do you have proper data sources, and would you say that your pipelines um, are clean? Would you say they're strong? Would you say that your sources contain the right information, right? Your sources in this case being the data that sits in the semantic layer that the customers and the rest of the business stakeholders can use, basically. And the person I sat with in that call is not very technology, is not very tech inclined, right? A non-tech user. And they were wondering why the sales exec asked this question, right? They thought they were trying to pry. And I had to step in and explain that the reason why they're asking this question is because they want to know whether there's a step that they need to take first, right? To ensure that you have the right data before they um, grant users access to this tool, basically. Because like I said, can't publish something that is wrong to people. And then they are doing all these wonderful things with the data that you're giving them, only for them to be making the wrong decisions. This is just not right. So this one, data quality and integration, is a consideration for everybody that is looking to integrate cloud data or utilize cloud data platforms. Another one is security and privacy. This is also a consideration, right? Compliance with regulations such as NDPR, GDPR, and CCPA is crucial. Organizations need to prioritize data security and user privacy, right? You have a wealth of data that you have access to. You are not just doing anything because you are in charge of the data or because you work in the data team or whatever the case is, right? You are handling this data based on the guidelines of whatever regulatory body guides the area that you're using this data in. So you have to put things You have to put measures in place. You also have to train the people that access the data, right, on ways by which they can handle and manage the data that they have access to. Make sure that accesses are not just granted anyhow. Basically, there's data democracy. Another thing is change management. Uh, Stakeholders, especially the non-technical ones, can be very, very averse to um averse to change, averse to innovations, right? Especially when these are people that are already used to like certain things. Maybe they worked 2 or 3 decades with, I don't know, um maybe physical charts or something, and you're not telling them, okay, Oga, you're not telling your 60 something or 70 something year old boss that, boss, please, oh, you want to check our performance for yesterday, you just drag this thing to this place, you drag the other one to this place, you drag, and this person is looking at you like, what are you saying? Oh, I'm not going to do all of that, right? That's a very extreme example because reality, of course. But yeah, just generally, overcoming resistance to data-driven culture and fostering one is essential, right? So you have to get the buy-in of your stakeholders. Because at the end of the day, especially from management, of course, at the end of the day, if um, they don't approve the use of a tool that you want to utilize for cloud data platform management, then there's nothing you can do, right? So everybody that is subject to this thing has to understand the value of data in decision making. Another one is balancing speed and accuracy. Now, organizations face the challenge of managing the risks associated with real time analytics because you want to ensure that, oh, people are getting data as quickly as possible. Then you're putting different things into place that don't make sense or that will trip up your system, right? That is something that you have to consider. Ensuring that speed does not compromise data accuracy is vital. At the end of the day, you want people to make decisions, but you don't want them to make decisions based on something that is wrong. You want them to make decisions based on something that is right. Um, this is a um, this is a fictionalized example. There's a show that I watch, is a medical drama series. And in one of the episodes, a doctor advocated um for the use of a system, a digital system, right, that they can use to detect, I think they can use to detect anomalies, diseases, or whatever. And then this thing, they asked it a question and it says something about the heart being, or the kidney, one of the organs being on the side of the body where it's not. Now, the antagonist in that case kept, going against the doctor and saying, oh, imagine if we didn't have knowledge, we would have, gone to do something that would have harmed somebody, blah, blah, blah. That's not a real world example, but in the real world, just because you want to get something quickly, you want to stay ahead of the curve, you want to stay on top of the game, doesn't mean that you should compromise, right, data accuracy. Um, then best practices. Implementing robust data governance and regular training can actually help, address these challenges, ensuring a smooth transition to digital practice. So data governance to cover like the security and privacy bits, the quality bits, the integration bits, and then regular training to, influence change management, right? To get everybody on board, to make sure that as your systems are evolving, as your platforms are evolving, that your users are also evolving with these platforms. Okay, so before I finish, I'm just going to touch on some future trends in digital transformation. Um, I want to give some examples of these trends as I speak about them. So bear with me so that we can all relate to these things. So the first one, this is not a future trend because 2023 and 2024 are past. But I just decided to look at the last 2 years and the next 2 years for us to just kind of have an idea of how um, digital transformation has helped to influence triple DM and will help to influence triple DM in the future, right? So AI and machine learning, right? AI and machine learning will further automate and enhance decision processes, making systems smarter and more efficient. Now, the example I want to give here is how Amazon, through AWS, of course, has been at the forefront of AI and machine learning innovations. So in 2023, AWS launched something called Amazon Bedrock. And that's basically a system that allows businesses to build and scale generative AI applications using their own um, foundational models, right? So now imagine that you have access to that, and as a business, based on the data that you have access to, you are able to create your own, um, you're able to build and scale your own generative AI applications, right? So this enabled enterprises to integrate AI-driven decision making into their workflows without the complexities of managing infrastructure. So companies that utilize this Amazon Bedrock, they didn't have to go out to pay for Gemini, for instance, or OpenAI, whatever co-pilots. What are they? Lots of like AI companies that use these days, based on their own foundational models, they could build their own generative AI applications, right? Additionally, Amazon Personalized was enhanced to improve customer experiences in e-commerce, streaming, and fintech sectors. So those are two examples of, you know, AI and machine learning technology that companies leveraged on in 2023. Now, in 2024, we have real-time analytics. Although I'll say this has been on the come up, but in 2024, we saw like a huge spike in companies using real-time analytics. And the company I'm using here as an example is Netflix, right? In 2024, Netflix consistently pushed the boundaries of real-time analytics to improve content recommendations and optimize user engagement. They refined their real-time A and B testing framework that leverage machine learning and streaming analytics to immediately detect changes in user behavior. So maybe if you are the type that watches reality TV like me, in 2024, I noticed more reality TV recommendations on my Netflix that I just did not have any excuse to not watch the latest one that Netflix was recommending to me, right? So this enabled them to fine-tune content delivery strategies, reduce churn, and optimize ad-supported plans by analyzing user interactions within milliseconds. Now, like I said, I did not have any issue. I could not say, oh, I don't have, after I've binged one season of Selling Sunsets, for instance, that's a reality TV show on Netflix. I did not have any choice because Netflix had already recommended Selling OC to me, right? So I could not go on Prime and say, oh, I want to use my Prime again because Netflix already has like a barrage of things that they've slapped in my face for me to watch. Then in this year, we're looking at edge computing and Internet of Things. By 2025, by this year, Tesla would have expanded its full service driving capabilities by integrating edge computing and IoT into its autonomous vehicle ecosystem, right? So Tesla vehicles already process a lot of sensor data, right? That can detect when you're in the car already, or maybe when like it detects a curb, for instance, the car stops, it doesn't drive into the curb. But for things like um for things like uh real-time safety, right? Predictive maintenance. Netflix using leveraging on edge computing and IoT wants to, I said Netflix, sorry, Tesla wants to position itself as the only leader. I don't even want to say the leader because Tesla is already the leader in this industry, but it wants to position itself as the supreme leader in this industry, utilizing edge computing and Internet of Things. And then in 2026, we look at evolving data governance, right? So HSBC, right, wants to use um, wants to use digital transformation in data governance to lead an evolution, basically. So implementing AI-powered compliance monitoring tools to ensure GDPR, CCPA, and AI Act adherence. Now imagine that companies that are not utilizing or that are not aware of like the um, data governance policies with this AI powered compliance monitoring. Maybe you want to access a folder that you're not supposed to have access to, or you want to export something from an environment that you want to do, you won't be able to do that. Or the power at the top, the powers that be will be notified, and then they will come and grab you just as you're trying to harvest data that you're not supposed to take out of your particular system. So that's something to watch out for. In 2027, um, we look at increased data democratization, right? And Google through BigQuery and Looker will likely lead in making data democratization more accessible by enhancing these tools, right? So their NLQ, which is natural language querying tool, will enable non-technical users to extract insights from vast data sets simply by asking questions in plain language, right? Or even the language that you understand. Now imagine going on um what's it called now? For those that use Looker, for instance, and asking Looker uh how your regions performed in the last 3 years in Yoruba. I'm not saying Yoruba is likely to be added to the list of querying languages that you can query in basically. But I'm just saying that that is an advancement that is coming, right? Being able to ask your um your data management system questions in plain language. So yeah, these are some future trends that are likely to even change the game more than we understand. So to wrap up, we'll just look at the key takeaways from today's session. And then I'll open the floor to questions, of course. So data transformation is a necessity, right? It is essential for modern decision making. It's not just a trend anymore. It's a necessity for any organization that is looking to remain competitive. And we also discussed the role of cloud platforms in, integrating data digital transformation in triple DM, right? So they enable scalable, real-time, and accessible analytics, providing the infrastructure needed for effective data-driven decision making. Then we also looked at the challenges and how to overcome these challenges, right? So overcoming them requires strategic planning and cultural change. And by organizing trainings, um, by implementing data governance policies, organizations can actually focus on data quality, data security to basically foster like a very, very good data culture. And then we of course spoke about future trends, which I just finished speaking about. Um, these trends basically will continuously reshape the data-driven decision landscape, and staying proactive in adopting these trends is key to your success. Even though you don't use them in your current jobs, it's important to know the ones that are popular, to know how they're affecting lives, to know um, how they are changing the game, basically. So yeah, uh, that's it from me. That's a very, very long discussion. Um, but I hope that we've been able to pick a thing or two. And if anything, you understand how important it is to, leverage on data on digital transformation now. and even in the littlest of ways, how you can incorporate it in your personal and your corporate lives. So yeah, any questions?